Hey, it is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. And we're going to zoom in and focus in on what I feel really right now is what is a very important concept or question that I've been getting in. And that is really part of the ruminations and really why is it so hard to let go of people? Why is it so hard to let go of the experience with the narcissist, with a psychopath, someone who could have been in your family of origin, someone who you could have been married to, and you just kept sweeping things under the rug for weeks, which turned into months, which turns into years, which turns into decades. And there's, momentary distractions which keep you off of the relationship. You're taking care of the kids, the house, the car, the profession, the job, whatever it is. But now, you're faced with coming to grips with the relationship and you're feeling a real disconnect or grinding between the two of you. Or perhaps, this is in your family of origin and you're really finding it to be a real sticking point with you in your life. Why does it continue to barrel on? Why does it continue to be such an issue? Why is it so hard to let them go? So really that's the concept and the focus here of this video. It's very important because it also looms large to your life in the bigger picture. And so if we look at that, really there's a couple things going on in place to understand. When you are really holding on to an experience, feeling sort of trapped, trauma bonded, connected to the abuser, it is because the abuser's judgment has been really sort of imprinted in your own blueprint, your own neurological framework, really which then becomes deep-seated in your subconscious because you had to identify with them out of need, either out of social need. You needed to fit in, you needed to belong, you needed to get along, you needed to adapt and adjust. So you had to become essentially fixated or trauma bonded or really sort of attached to this person. And there's positive attachments and there's negative attachments and there's, variances in between. But now when this person becomes sort of more part of your internal, what I call part of your solar plexus, again, it's that part of you that's caught in the fight or flight. It's that sympathetic nervous system which causes you to narrow your focus and, you get the burst of energy. It's as if, you just saw a rush of water come into your house, how you'd go running for the door and look at the water. That's when you're in an emergency, that's your fight or flight. That's the sympathetic nervous system, which is causing your adrenals to surge. And, then those are the hormones of stress, the adrenals, the cortisol, the stress hormone, which gives you that burst of energy, and you become sort of addicted to that state. And you need to enter into that state oftentimes through compliance, almost like a fascist leader. And I'm not really aware of really what countries now have a fascist leader, but it's almost in that sort of similar template, if you will, where there's a dictator or someone who is seeming as a directive in your life. And when you really look at the attachment bond, it's because either in the beginning of the relationship, you over-idealized or perhaps felt very sorry for this person. So sorry, especially in the situation with the empathy. So the empathy, the mirror chemicals really started to being produced. When you begin to feel sorry for them, you began to match their body language. You began to match their feelings. You began to sort of erode your own boundaries and become enmeshed with them and theirs. But see, they're seeing what's going on. As a viewer so aptly, astutely stated, they're looking for your validation. So in other words, when you begin to feel sorry for them, have pity on them. This poor individual, maybe, that's how especially the psychopath will target and really get, a hook on people or get them addicted and get them really sort of stuck where it's hard to let them go, is because your heart, your empathy, it becomes sympathy, and then it becomes sort of, the heart bleeding moments which you become addicted to and attracted to and attached to, because then it consumes your entire being. And then, that's how a lot of the fabric of the relationship is created. And it's so difficult to let go because you then feel so responsible for their success or for the success of the relationship. You're trying to constantly meet a moving target, and this person either raises the bar or cheats behind your back or isn't giving you the real deal. They're not giving you their authentic self. They're giving you a mask, a facade of emotional manipulation, which then you are falling in love with and then you are reacting to. So as you can see, it's like you are reacting to a mask or a persona, or what Jung has said, in a lot of his studies, he's looked at the persona or the mask. So oftentimes, the happiest people are those people who have a congruence between their authentic self and their public self. In other words, what you see is what you get. It's, yes, people when they're working, they're in the work mode, they're focusing, things like that, but it's not like, they become a totally different person who you could not recognize. Yes, there's different facets of personality, which you might become, spiritual here, or you might become, this, in your hobby or things of that nature. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to a distinct separation of persona, which means, there's a complete shutting off of who they are within you in the relationship, and then they triangulate, and as if there's no connection. They don't feel the sort of correspondence or humanity that comes with the empathy and being truly connected and truly having feelings for people. And they'll say things to you in this sort of manner. So it is very important to see that that's why it's so difficult to let go, because you're still holding on in that fight or flight sort of nervous system, where then their judgment has now kind of been imprinted for your own judgment. So you had to abandon that. You had to abandon that inner core, that inner I am, either because if it's in your family of origin, your I am is not, secure as of yet. You haven't gone out to experience it. You haven't had the positive messages that people have that believe in you, the real you, versus just trying to please what they need. So the narcissistic parent, and that's a whole nother video, but I think you get my understanding, or my drift is that is as if, with the narcissistic parent, then, you're always living to fulfill their needs. You're abandoning that inner core. You're abandoning that inner judgment. You're abandoning those inner boundaries. You're, eroding those. You're dissolving those. Then to please this person, to be belonging, to have, that social connection, to have that social need fulfilled. And it can be very strong. And so that's why it's so difficult to let it go, because that's what you have adopted or adjusted. And you are afraid to then release the block and then sort of experiment or work with the real I am, the authentic self, where that has been criticized, it's been belittled, it's been judged, or it hasn't been allowed to get out and be experienced in life. So it's very feeble, it's very meek, it's like a little embryo that, could become uprooted with one, big wind. It doesn't have a chance. It's like a baby hawk that doesn't know how to fend for itself. The parent never taught it, so oftentimes those birds end up starving or dying because they don't have their instinct. They haven't been taught. They haven't been taught really how to engage in those, by having that imprinting, or what is it? Yeah, it's called imprinting, when you see like the ducks with the other little ducks following, they're imprinting with their role model. So there's no healthy narcissistic validation there. So it's like people don't have that still solid sense of self. They, have to, go crazy, or, they flip on the social switch and then, they're out of control, and then they're, trying to come down from it, and they're realizing they have all these mistakes or things like that. Their life becomes chaotic and out of balance. So as you can see, it is difficult to let go because you're still caught in that fight or flight. It's that emergency sort of emotions, and emotions and feelings are the language of the body. And there's thousands of thoughts that keep that glued in and wired into how you are feeling. So how you are feeling is really where you have to look at changing things up. And that feeling of constantly ruminating about them, or the fact that it is a life-changing experience, Yes, it is, but you need to give more credit to yourself now and not just credit to this person for causing like the domino effect, into your life. You have to realize that you have been present all along. You have been, you are the eyes that have seen through so much, but your subconscious mind has really recorded it all and has known it all, but so it's kind of like the uncovering of that and then the allowing and saying, it's okay. I am okay. Oh my God, I am okay without this person. I don't need their judgment. I don't need their decision making. I don't need their call to tell me what is right or wrong. I don't need them to constantly evaluate and judge me. I don't need to use that as a measuring stick to please them. Do you see how the trauma bond gets created? It's a very intense, deep, sort of profound, human experience, and it's a human growth and really sort of a growth of consciousness, which is your thoughts. It's your cognitions, your thoughts, and understanding really how this is all worked out to kind of separate away from them so that you're distinct and separate, and now you're building your boundaries and giving them a try. It's like anything, riding a bike or skiing, getting on your first set of water skis, getting on your first seesaw, getting on your first bike, getting on your first swing, just how to try it out, how to, get the new muscle memory. The muscle memory will also keep a lot of that emotional body, the emotions in, which allow you to kind of get your spirit side going, your I am, your positive feelings, your connection with yourself. And I know that this is very etheric and intangible, but it really will sink in. And trust me, it is worth the learning. And it's coming out of the mediocre, and it's really realizing the efforts that people make to try to dehumanize and to disempower you, and to realize it's the emerging out of it, which you really have to give yourself some credit for coming so far. And once you are able to give more credit to yourself and not so much to this person who you had identified with as this narcissist to be a role that was connected to them as, a very hard-lined role, you can take the pen, you can take the pencil, you can begin to draw a new blueprint for how you relate to this person, how you relate to the other people at large, because oftentimes this pattern is so strong that you then play out these patterns in other relationships. In other words, especially when it's in your family of origin, if you were taught, that you're this, you're that, you're going to take that to your school. You're going to take that to your kindergarten, your 5th grade, your 6th grade, your high school. It's going to carry on until you do the attitude adjustment, you do the consciousness adjustment, you give yourself some credit, and you begin to kind of emerge from the inside rather than always trying to react from that outside perspective and that outside energy. And so once you really get into it, you have to allow it to come in a peaceful manner. So a lot of people think, that they've struggled for so long. Sometimes you have to give up the struggle to be strong. That's really what you need to do, because it's the struggle that's just causing more struggle. And then you keep focusing on that, and you wonder why it's so difficult to let it go. It's because you've been focusing on that, and it's just really the releasing. It's really just seeing that as separate and being okay, and then believing in that, and then living in a state of belief. I know that this is very deep stuff, but this will, if you can play this a couple times and really begin to understand what this means, even if just it's the tip of the iceberg. I don't really get what we're talking about here, but I know that I will be there someday. You will be there someday. But why is it so difficult to let go? That is the cause. That is the why. That is sort of the beginning of the story, if you will. It is because that was all the emotional connections that were going on. So it's disengaging that very unhealthy fight or flight, sympathetic, nervous, forcing energy, letting that go, coming into a calm body and realizing that you are distinct and individual, and that you can breathe and relax and create a whole new floodgate of emotions and experiences which are distinct from this person. And not only that, but once you are able to live in that energetic space, let's call it that, that furthermore, other narcissists will not become attractive. Other psychopathic individuals will not become attractive. Violators and perpetrators will no longer be attractive to you. You'll realize that they're just kind of caught in their illusion and sort of getting trapped in things that aren't healthy for you, and then you basically take the trap door off of your leg or wherever it is clamping you, and you just release it, shrug it off, and you let it go. So if that helps, really, I hope that really helps. And it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. And once again, I hope that these videos do help. Thank you so much for your viewership, your input, your connections, and your growth. I really feel that a lot of people are really starting to really kind of waken up and get on that path that we're focusing here and giving you tools with here on the channel. Have a good night, and thanks for watching.